everyone, it's Tuesday morning and welcome to the news. I'm joined by Ross. How are you, Ross?
I am absolutely fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm alright. I don't envy you today because I saw a bit of Raw last night and it was a weird one. So
I saw Triple H's suit. That's all I saw. It's all I need to see, quite frankly, because it's a fantastic suit. Black pants and a grey blazer. Changing the game, that man.
A classy man, but I won't spoil anything if you're yet to watch it for WTF, but your video is going to be an interesting one, so a lot of people are going to look forward to that, I suspect, later on today.
I hope so.
Oh, absolutely. But we do have lots of news to get through as well. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the headlines. First of all, Drew McIntyre has confirmed that he has tested positive for COVID. Next up, we've also learned that a top WWE Raw superstar is injured. And finally, a WWE Legend has launched his very own energy drink. More on that in just a bit. So yes, first of all, serious news to talk about, but thankfully he does appear to be fine. As confirmed on Raw last night, Drew McIntyre has indeed clarified that he has tested positive with COVID. He did so via a video call, and hopefully he's fine. He claimed, Ross, that he was one of the lucky ones who is suffering no symptoms, but he has urged everybody to, continue staying safe and everything. But it's big news. I mean, the WWE Champion is out of action for, well, a short while, at least only a short while, hopefully.
Yeah, I did like the way they handled it on Raw last night with Drew just giving us a no bollocks, just the facts, just a good PSA, take it seriously, all that stuff. So that was a good thing to come from a terrible situation. But obviously, first you're thinking hopefully he's okay. He said he's asymptomatic and he's not feeling the effects too badly, so fingers crossed that continues. But then secondly, you're thinking, when did he actually get the virus? And hopefully it was after last week's Raw, because of course last week's Raw was Legends Night. A lot of elder statesmen were in attendance last week. You obviously shared the screen with Hulk Hogan, for example. So hopefully he contracted it after last week's Raw and hopefully didn't pass it on.
Yeah, I'd assume so, just from the fact that he was wrestling Keith Lee last week, and then Keith Lee was present on Raw. That would seem to indicate at least that at least Keith Lee's tested negative, and hopefully it was all after Raw took place. Drew appeared once more on the show as well, again via video, obviously, to accept the challenge from Goldberg. So it looks like WWE are suspecting that he'll be fine by the Rumble. You're breathing a heavy sigh there, Ross.
Well, it's terrifying still, isn't it, Jack? It's terrifying that Goldberg might, take this guy who WWE have pumped everything into over the past year or so and beat him inside of 3 minutes, just like he did with I don't know if it was inside 3 minutes, but this time, of course, last year, we were gearing up for The Fiend losing to Goldberg, and I'm still not over it.
That was a very curious booking decision. If I had to put money on it, I'd probably bet on Drew to retain, but I wouldn't feel confident in doing so, because
it's the right thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just, you've got this. I was saying last week, like, if you're going to hold a Legends Night in 10, 20 years' time, what Legends could you possibly book? Because they're not creating any new ones, so let's create a new one with Drew McIntyre by having him flatten the superhero to all the kids, whatever that bollocks is that means he has to win all of his matches. Let's have Drew McIntyre flatten Goldberg.
It's weird how on one side of things you've got someone who Raw have pumped loads into recently, and that's threatened to be taken all the way. And exactly the same's happening on the SmackDown side of things with Adam Pearce as well. They've invested so much in him, and if he loses to Roman, I'm going to be absolutely devastated.
I'm tired of the people I saw on Saturday morning. Obviously, I was in work covering for WTF Moments, and just everyone going, "Oh, this is awful. Why is it Adam Pearce? Why are we doing this?" It's storytelling, man. Let's let it play out. It's obvious that it might be famous last words on my part, but surely that match won't happen as advertised. Surely they're just putting that in there as we continue the story of the tribal chief and this, that, and the other. Just let it play out, man. Calm down.
I kind of want it to happen, just for that moment when Adam Pearce shows everybody that actually he's a really good wrestler, hopefully anyway. But yeah. I know what you mean. It's not set in stone, and I thought it was well done on SmackDown. I didn't have a problem with it, just because it was good storytelling.
Exactly.
Yes. Now, according to Fightful, WWE are not the only promotion affected by this recent COVID outbreak. They are reporting that as well as Drew in WWE, obviously, there's been another outbreak in the wrestling world following the holiday season. Now, they've not named any specifics, but the report says that shows from WWE, AEW, and Impact Wrestling, so the three big ones basically, certainly in Western wrestling, have all been affected. Also, on top of that, there's news that, this was first reported by Ringside News, and I believe that the Wrestling Observer have reported the same thing. There is at least one other person on the roster, the WWE roster, who's tested positive, but the one that we being the Wrestling Observer folk, know of is on the SmackDown brand, and it was last week, and that person was pulled from the show beforehand. So at the moment, I mean, it kind of goes without saying that it's not just Drew. We expected it to be more people, but not even just confined to WWE either. Both Impact and AEW might be affected as well.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder whether, obviously over here in England, there's a lot of talk about the Premier League maybe needing a circuit breaker, taking a break for a couple of weeks. I know wrestling can't do that because of TV contracts and whatnot, but maybe some sort of compromise needs to be done just to, take everyone out of the situation, let it sort of settle down a bit, and then bring it back once it's safer to do so. And hopefully, the people who are getting the virus aren't rushed back. Hopefully, them WWE promoting the Rumble match between Drew and Goldberg isn't a case of them going, well, it needs to happen, damn it. Hopefully that Drew can be, fit and healthy to compete.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So hopefully not only Drew has a very quick recovery, but hopefully everybody involved as well. Hopefully everyone is okay. The show must go on in sort of wrestling world, as you've alluded to there. And often that can lead to hasty rewrites. Now, it's not unusual in this day and age, is it really, for Raw to be rewritten? It seems like every other week.
We're not sat here on a Tuesday morning speaking about Raw being rewritten at the final hour, are we? Surely not.
We are, but in this case, it was even more last minute than usual, Ross.
Impossible, Jack, because it's always 60 seconds before the show goes on the air. Vince turns up and he goes, nope, don't like it, let's start again. And it's always the same every week.
This came following, obviously, the news of Drew not being able to appear on the show. He's the main man, the centerpiece of Raw, obviously, so I'm assuming that big changes needed to be made, which might explain a lot of the odd things that happened on Raw last night. Not all of them, but maybe some of the odd things that happened on Raw. But this comes courtesy of PW Insider, who say they reported this yesterday just before Raw went on, saying WWE is extremely behind in the scripting of the show, with the first hour still not complete as of 7:02 p.m. So close to the deadline. Wow. And only rough outlines for hours 2 and 3 are done. Excuse me. So whether this will be a full-blown match or just some sort of brawl is yet to be confirmed. They're referring to the involvement of Triple H and Randy Orton. I don't know how much you currently know about that. I don't want to go too much into it because Tom was going to talk about it on Graded. You're going to talk about it on WTF. But it was a fight, Ross. It was a fight.
I saw one bit of it, Jack, and I thought the Burning Hammer was banned in WWE.
Absolute raucous behaviour there. What great punnery. Now, to be honest, PW Insider have said the late scripting is not an unusual occurrence, which is exactly right. But this week it's due to the Drew McIntyre situation. Triple H was added to Raw to help stave off the competition of the 2021 College Football Playoff National Championship game. And I've done my research, and I believe that was between Ohio State and I want to say Alabama. But
Ohio!
Yeah, Ohio. But I think they lost. I don't know. So, yeah, another example of Raw being written late on. This week, I guess we can excuse it, but it happens a lot, doesn't it? It happens quite often.
Yeah, this week they couldn't help it. Obviously, I think it was the first time ever they announced that somebody's actually got the virus. WWE officially announced it on Twitter. So, yeah, it's out of their hands this time. So, what can they do?
Well, absolutely. I was really shocked as well because I feel like they alluded to Drew not being there, and then it was only confirmed by Drew himself when he appeared on the video. But it's a step in the right direction for WWE because they like to pretend that it doesn't exist for some reason. Hopefully this is a change in that policy. But it's it's often been very, very weird. Also, we've got news of this is not involving COVID, thankfully, but another Raw superstar is out with injury at the moment, and apparently it's a broken jaw. We recently saw Finn Balor have to recover from a broken jaw on the NXT brand, and according to Fightful, Kofi Kingston is sidelined with a broken jaw now. It was said that Kofi suffered the injury in recent weeks battling the Hurt Business. That's from WWE's announcement. It is unknown how long Kofi will be out of action. So I don't know whether he does actually have a broken jaw or whether this is a kayfabe reason for some other injury or some other reason for his absence. But whatever's going on, hopefully Kofi's alright. And Xavier Woods then took part in a fairly rare singles match for him on Raw this week. But yeah, Kofi was very conspicuous by his absence.
Yeah, my first thought is, if it's not the New Day against the Hurt Business, who else could it be on Monday Night Raw? I think they're a bit stuck, aren't they?
We saw the formation of a new pair of BFFs on Raw last night. Keith and Sheamus.
It's the Bar Part 2. It sounds like the Bar Part 2. They don't get along, do they? Then the tag teams and the oh, you're quite good at the wrestling, you, sir. Let's have a good tag team.
That basically seems like what happened. I think there was some kind of tease of a handshake after their match, and then instead it was just you know when two wrestlers go for a handshake and one goes, no, that's not strong enough, and they do a big hug instead. It sounded like that sort of situation.
The entire Thunderdome in tears, no doubt.
Yeah. Which I'm all for. I think that Sheamus and Keith sounds like a really fun tag team, but at the same time, I don't know if they should be a short-lived tag team, because both are kind of important singles wrestlers at the moment. And another oh, sorry, were you going to say something there?
No.
Another possible team as well, though, to challenge their business. Don't get too excited. Is the Lucha House Party?
Oh, I forgot about this. They beat Hurt Business last week, didn't they?
Oh, I forgot about that as well. I was just saying that because on this week's Raw, they were being best pals with Riddle backstage, and then Riddle got beaten up by Lashley and MVP. So I'm assuming...
How crazy, eh? How crazy. What a crazy trio.
They told Riddle at one point to watch his back, and he didn't. Riddle's never heard that expression before. He was like, under my arms, or how do I watch my back, bro? I was like, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's that good. Yeah. Hopefully Kofi's alright anyway, and hopefully he can get... You've just got nothing to say about that.
No, famously I said on the podcast a few weeks ago I didn't mind Matt Riddle being a bit crazy and whatnot, but then him talking to the rabbit happened, and having the rambling rabbit that is, sorry, pronouns and all that malarkey, sign a carrot for his rabbit at home, and that's when it went too far, and it hasn't recovered since, has it?
No. I'm going to try and do a Tom-style transition now, but one thing that might recover is WWE's fandom in India, because obviously we've heard reports of this upcoming WWE Superstar Spectacle, which I'm kind of comparing, in my mind at least, to the UK Championship Tournament, kind of a launching point for an NXT India brand, because obviously that tournament set up NXT UK. Sportskeeda are reporting, though, that it might not just be big names such as Jinder Mahal, Kavita Devi and Indus Sher, the tag team as well, big names of Indian origin on the show, but also big superstars on Raw and SmackDown, just some of the biggest names on both brands. So Sportskeeda is saying, whilst our sources maintain that the names of the Raw and SmackDown superstars could change at any moment, some of the names that are being considered are Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles, Charlotte Flair, The New Day, Bayley, and Rey Mysterio. That's in addition to the Raw and SmackDown stars and Indian talents such as Jinder Mahal, Kavita Devi, and Indus Sher. The WWE Superstar Spectacle is also likely to have a prominent WWE legend as well. They're really going all out for this thing.
The UK shafted once again. Where were all these lads at the UK tournament and when NXT UK launched? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I seem to remember that. Or was that even that year? There was definitely a Neville versus Aleister Black match. Yeah, Tommy End. Yeah,
that fella.
Neither of them really went on to be a part of the brand. Yeah, they really have gone all out for this one. And it'll take place on January 26th on the Sony Sports Network in India. No word yet on how it's going to be available to audiences such as ourselves in the UK. I'm assuming it'll be on the network. And it sounds like it's going to be pre-taped. It sounds like it's going to go out as live, but it's actually going to be pre-taped in America. They're not all, don't panic, they're not all flying out to India in the middle of a pandemic. They're all going to stay where they are, do the show in Florida, and we'll hopefully be able to see what it looks like. Jeff Jarrett's going to be involved, Ross. He was involved with Ring Kick King. He knows the Indian fans. He knows what they want. Are you excited for this?
Jeff Jarrett being the WWE India champion. My world, my world, my world. I can't wait. I was taking the piss a little bit there with the UK stuff, because obviously India is a much bigger place than the UK, so I can see why they probably want to put more into India than they do with us.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense. It's a market that they've often tried to grow before, such as it's often cited as a big reason for Jinder becoming WWE champion, and they've not really fully been able to do it, but we'll have to see. But there's some really big news finally, Ross. This is my favourite news story of the day. you know, it's tough when you're, you know, in lockdown and you fall into a bit of a rut, and sometimes you need a bit of a pick-me-up. And you know what better way to give yourself a bit of a boost than with an energy drink produced by a WWE legend, none other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who's announced on Twitter that he is making his new energy, or launching his new energy drink, Zoa, at Zoa Energy on Twitter. The Rock tweeted, "Ladies and gents, it is our honour to introduce you to Zoa Energy, the first of its kind, clean and healthy energy drink that champions the everyday warrior and all of us who lives life positive." That's very The Rock. Hashtag Zoa, and it's coming out this March. Will you be, if it's out in the UK, will you be trying some Zoa?
Of course I'll be getting my lips around some Zoa. I can only presume, since Zoa rhymes with boa, the WWE are involved with this, and somehow they've attached a sort of Preston Lacey sweatsuit, and when Boa's on the exercise bike, it's just droplets of sweat from Boa, put in a can, you drink that, and then you do some very impressive things.
The Rock's obviously really impressed with Boa, and has thought, I'm going to not only base my energy drink on you, but I'm going to harvest your bodily fluids.
Exactly.
And use them. Well, Ross, thank you very much for joining me with this news video.
No
what
problem.
better way to close it than with that? Thanks everybody else as well. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. Look out for Graded from Tom. Look out for WTF Moments from Ross for an action-packed Raw last night, and a very bizarre one as well. So thanks very much for watching.
Before we go
on.
If anyone can think of any Royal Rumble related tier lists that we can do that aren't the actual matches itself, because we did that last year, didn't we? Let me know, because I'm struggling to think of one.
Fair enough. See you later, everybody.
Market
Bye-bye.
research.